As a record number of people choose to vote by mail or absentee, it is likely that even though we're 2 days away from the election, we will not know the presidential result on election night. That's why voting experts are warning people to be aware of a red or blue mirage in early results. Complicating things, each state has its own rules for how early votes are counted and reported. Some will report results sooner than others, so initial numbers could be misleading and confusing. These so-called mirages will disappear as more ballots are counted, but experts are warning that it could take days or even weeks. For more on this now, I want to bring in Josh Mendelsohn. He's the CEO of Hawkfish, a data analytics agency founded by entrepreneur and politician Mike Bloomberg to support Democratic candidates. Josh, good to have you with us. So fundamentally, this boils down to who's voting early versus who's going to vote on election day. So remind us how those numbers shake out and the potential that early results could give a false impression.
Right. So as we were talking a couple of months ago and thinking through the various scenarios, one of the most important data points for our team was the simple fact that about 2.5 times as many Democrats plan to vote by mail as Republicans. And we've seen that bear out now as early voting's been going on in so many of the swing states for quite a bit. Florida's a really great example. And so consequently, when you've got Democrats voting early and you've got Republicans who are waiting to either vote in person or have on election day or have already voted in person, you see these disparities. And then inevitably, what we're going to encounter is on election day, as polls close, numbers are going to start to come out, and those numbers are going to principally include those machine counts, those in-person votes, because so many key states like Pennsylvania don't begin counting those mail ballots until the day of election day. And so consequently, there's going to be that lag. And if you use straight partisanship as a proxy for support here, which this cycle certainly applies, it inevitably means that Donald Trump's going to have a better result on the night of the election. And that's what's going to get reported out as the current numbers at that moment. But as the machine counts continue and as all of those mail ballots are processed, Joe Biden's lead will start becoming evident. And so we refer to it as a red mirage. It's there in so many of the key swing states. In fact, Florida's a bit of an exception because they've been processing ballots as they've been receiving them. And so Florida's very likely to give us a much better look on election night. But a state like Pennsylvania has already signaled quite clearly that their offices don't expect to be able to complete the count until perhaps 4 days after Election Day, if not later.
Yeah, I think that that's part of what is so confusing about all of this, Josh, because we do have this this federal system that allows each individual states to have their own methods and rules for how they process votes, meaning like how they actually check signatures, open ballots, and count votes, and when they do all that. And you mentioned Florida, the signature verification and counting can begin 22 days before Election Day, and then all of those results can be released as a poll closure on Election Day. I'm wondering how much, according to your models, do we really need to be concerned about this? Because it does differ from state to state. And what battleground states should we really be watching for a shift from the early results to the final outcome? And just to stick with the Florida example for a space longer, if Florida Democrats are voting early and all of those ballots have been counted and processed immediately as soon as the polls close, but the in-person voting is still taking a little bit longer to tabulate, could that give the impression of a blue mirage in Florida?
Well, I would say, sticking with Florida, you've already got a substantial number of Floridians who have already voted. It's about 8 million as of the last count. It far exceeds the total number that voted early in 2016. It is getting really close to just incredible levels of historic participation. And one of the more interesting things about Florida is because of what happened in 2000, they're very good at processing these quickly, as we discussed, and then also having those machine counts processed quickly. So Florida, I reject this notion of the blue mirage. Maybe I should just say that. It's the kind of thing where Florida will tell us something about a Joe Biden victory if Joe Biden's able to have really great numbers on election night. But we know from all the data that Florida, like it's been for so many cycles prior, it's going to be really close. It's a rapidly diversifying state,
Right.
but it's a state that that has never really had a major breakaway for Democrats. And so, and as you know, in 16 voted for Donald Trump. And so, let's assume for a second that Florida doesn't have that so substantial number for Joe Biden that it ends Donald Trump's path to 270. And I think that's an entirely likely scenario. It puts a lot of pressure on states like Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. And both of those states, we already talked about Pennsylvania a little bit, are expecting to be slow in those vote by mail counts. And again, given the partisan disparities, given that Republicans have been listening to Trump's rhetoric, they plan to show up in person, they do not believe in the integrity of the vote by mail process, it necessarily sets up this condition where Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, should Florida not have that decisive result that lets us understand how the race to 270 is evolving, will inevitably lead to what we like calling the red mirage. And so it's something that exists, by the way, in all the battleground states. And one of the other things we think about on election night is who's on the East Coast versus perhaps folks further on the West Coast. And as a result, our biggest belief is, every vote's going to matter. Folks need to show up. At this point, if you still have your ballot that you received in the mail, either bring it in and drop it in a drop box if your local election laws allow, or show up and vote in person. And by the way, if you're going to vote in person, bring your ballot with you just to be sure. And inevitably, our assumptions here are that many of these states will be close. They should be. And until every vote is counted, we may not know who the next president of the United States is. So when you see this reporting that Trump, and he has said it. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so on that exact point, what would it take to know the winner on election night? And if you think that that's an impossibility, when do you expect that we will have our final results?
It's certainly just a very highly likely scenario we won't know on election night. The Trump team is preparing for this. They've certainly signaled, both in speeches the president has given and in statements the campaign team have given to reporters and have suggested on background, that they plan to declare a victory on election night. And that's quite troubling. The state of Pennsylvania is one where they've said they don't expect to be able to count all of the vote by mail ballots they've received until Saturday or Sunday. That's many days later, and we know from some of what we've seen in the past, Saturday, Sunday might be optimistic. It's incredible to think we might not know for 5 or 6 days. Let's hope that's not the case. Certainly, there's been a lot of discussion among state and county officials in these states to make sure that they stay on top of the counts. But like I said, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, I think we can assume that they're going to be slower to count than we would like, and there are likely to be challenges and other questions that have this as a process where we might need to be patient for several days.
Patient. We're trying to seed those expectations. All right, Josh Mendelsohn, thank you.
Thanks for having me.